Hey guys, tonight we begin not with a fairy tale castle or a distant galaxy, but with something far more powerful and unforgiving: revenge. Because believe it or not, spending 12 years alone on a Caribbean island, plotting the perfect payback, is somehow even more dangerous than the storm that put you there in the first place. From sorcery and shipwrecks to forgiveness and forbidden love, this 1954 tale of magic and betrayal is less about happily ever after and more about whether redemption is possible when you've lost everything. So before you settle in, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And let me know in the comments where you're tuning in from and what time it is for you. It's always fascinating to see who's joining us from around the world. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together to an island where the past and present collide, and where one man must choose between vengeance and his own humanity. The year is 1954, and the Caribbean Sea churns black beneath a sky the color of bruised plums. Thunder rolls across the water like distant artillery fire, and the wind screams through the rigging of a gleaming white yacht named the Alonso. She's a beauty, this vessel 70 feet of polished mahogany and brass fittings, the kind of boat that speaks of old money and older sins. Tonight, she fights for her life. On deck, men in dinner jackets cling to whatever they can grab. Their bow ties hang loose, their carefully pomaded hair whips wild in the gale. These are not sailors. These are gentlemen politicians, businessmen, aristocrats, returning from a wedding celebration in Havana. The kind of men who expect the world to bend to their will. Tonight, the world has other plans. Antonio Delacroix grips the railing, his knuckles white against the wood. He's a handsome man in his 50s, silver-haired and sharp-featured, with the confident bearing of someone who has never been told no. Beside him, King Alonso Navarro, Cuban dignitary and shipping magnate, shouts orders that the wind devours before they reach anyone's ears. His son Ferdinand, barely 23, stumbles across the tilting deck, terror written across his young face. The ship's captain wrestles with the wheel, but it spins uselessly in his hands. The rudder is gone, snapped away by a wave the size of a 2-story building. We're going down. Someone screams, and the words are swallowed by another crack of thunder that splits the sky like God's own judgment. Lightning illuminates the scene in frozen moments, a tableau of wealthy men reduced to frightened animals. Sebastian, Antonio's younger brother, vomits over the side. Gonzalo, the old counselor with his white beard plastered to his face, clutches a life-preserver and prays in rapid Spanish. The boat's bosun, a grizzled islander named Stefano, tries to lower a lifeboat, but the davits are jammed. Then the wave hits. It rises from the darkness like a living wall, biblical in its fury, and crashes down upon the Alonso with the weight of divine retribution. The yacht cracks, groans, and begins to break apart. Men are swept overboard, their screams cut short by the roaring water. The mast snaps with a sound like a gunshot. Chaos, pure chaos. And then, impossibly, through the storm's fury, a voice, not shouting, singing. A strange, lilting melody that seems to come from everywhere and nowhere, weaving through the wind like thread through cloth. The men still conscious enough to hear it feel their skin crawl. It's not natural, this singing. It sounds like island drums and radio static, like a woman's lullaby and a funeral dirge all at once. The yacht splits in two with a groan of tortured wood. One half sinks immediately, dragging screaming men into the depths. The other half, impossibly, begins to drift toward an island that materializes from the storm like a fever dream. Palm trees thrash in the wind. White sand glows phosphorescent in the lightning flashes. Somewhere in the jungle beyond the beach, lights flicker, not electric lights, but something older. Candles, perhaps, or something else entirely. On the beach, watching through the rain with dark, knowing eyes, stands a girl. She's perhaps 19, beautiful in the way of wild things, with skin the color of cafe au lait and black hair that hangs in thick waves down her back. She wears a simple white dress that clings to her body in the downpour, and her feet are bare in the sand. This is Miranda Delacroix, though she hasn't used that surname in 12 years. "Father," she whispers, and her voice somehow carries over the storm. "Father, are there people on that ship?" Behind her, emerging from the shadows of the jungle like a ghost made solid, comes Prospero Delacroix. He's 58, but the island has worn him in strange ways. His hair is long and gray, pulled back from a face that might have been aristocratic once, but now carries the weathered look of a mystic. He wears loose linen pants and a white shirt open at the collar. Around his neck hang strange objects, chicken bones, seed pods, a small leather pouch that smells of herbs and darker things. His eyes, though, his eyes are sharp as cut glass, burning with intelligence and something else, something like controlled fury. "Yes, my daughter," he says softly, his Louisiana accent still present after all these years. "There are people on that ship. Will they drown?" Her voice breaks with concern. Prospero watches the yacht break apart on the reef just offshore, watches the waves push pieces of it toward the beach, watches bodies tumble in the surf. A small smile plays at the corners of his mouth. "Not one soul shall perish," he says. "Not one hair on their heads shall be harmed, though they may wish they had drowned before this is finished." Miranda stares at her father, confusion and horror warring on her face. The storm is already beginning to subside, the wind dropping from a shriek to a moan, the rain lessening to a steady drumbeat on the sand. It's unnatural, this sudden calm. Everything about this night is unnatural. "I don't understand," she says, moving closer to him, her bare feet leaving prints in the wet sand. "Father, did you do this? Did you call this storm?" Prospero turns to face her fully, and in the dying lightning his face is both terrible and tender. "Sit, child," he says, gesturing to a piece of driftwood that juts from the sand like a throne. "Sit, and I will tell you things I should have told you long ago. Tonight everything changes. Tonight the past comes to collect what it's owed." She sits, obedient as always, this girl who has never known any world but this island. Prospero begins to pace before her, his feet making no sound on the sand as if he weighs nothing at all. "You know you were not born here," he begins. "You know we came from somewhere else, from a life of wealth and privilege in Louisiana. But you don't know why. You don't know what was taken from us." Miranda nods slowly. She's heard hints, fragments, pieces of a puzzle she's never been able to complete. "You were rich," she says. "We had a plantation. Belgrave, you called it." Beautiful dream," Prospero repeats, and his voice is bitter as chicory coffee. 6,000 acres of the finest land in Louisiana, sugar cane and cotton stretching to the horizon. A house with 22 rooms, filled with antiques brought from France. Gardens that won prizes, stables full of thoroughbreds. And power, Miranda, real power. The governor dined at our table. Senators sought my counsel. He stops pacing, stares out at the wreckage floating in the surf. But I was a fool. One loved my books more than I loved business. Philosophy, history, religion, and the old religions, the forbidden ones. Voodoo and Santeria, the magic the slaves brought from Africa and Haiti. While I studied, while I learned secrets that no white man was meant to know, I let my brother Antonio run the estate. I trusted him. Miranda's eyes widen. She's heard the name Antonio before, always spoken like a curse. Your brother, she whispers. My brother, Prospero confirms, spitting the words. Antonio the ambitious, Antonio the charming. While I paid tribute to the old gods and learned to bend the world to my will, he made alliances. He borrowed money in my name, forged my signature, spread rumors that I'd gone mad. He convinced everyone who mattered that I was dangerous, that I practiced dark arts, that I was unfit to hold property or power. The rain has stopped completely now. The moon breaks through the clouds, full and silver, casting everything in shades of gray and pearl. On the beach, the survivors are starting to wash ashore, coughing up seawater, crawling onto the sand like broken dolls. He had me declared legally incompetent, Prospero continues, his voice dropping to a whisper that somehow carries more weight than a shout. He stole everything. The plantation, the money, the Delacroix name. But even that wasn't enough. He knew what I'd learned, knew what I was capable of. So he arranged for us to be disappeared. You were 7 years old, Miranda. Do you remember that night? She closes her eyes, and the memory surfaces like something from underwater. Men came, she says slowly, men with guns. They put us in a car, then a boat. A small boat with no motor. They were supposed to kill us, Prospero says flatly. But my friend Gonzalo, dear old Gonzalo, who owed me his career, he couldn't stomach murder. He gave us supplies. Water, food, blankets. And my books, Miranda. My precious books. The text I collected on island magic, on the old ways, on the powers that sleep beneath the Caribbean Sea. They set us adrift. And Antonio told everyone we died in a fire. He held a funeral. People wept. Miranda opens her eyes, and there are tears streaming down her face. How did we survive? The currents brought us here, Prospero says, gesturing to the island around them. To this place. And this island, Miranda, this island was waiting for me. It knew I was coming. There was a woman here, a witch named Sycorax. She'd been banished from Cuba for her crimes, left here to die. But she didn't die. She made pacts with the spirits of this place, the old gods who were here before Columbus, before the Spanish, before any European set foot on Caribbean soil. She enslaved them, bound them to her will. He reaches into his shirt and pulls out a small object, a wooden charm, carved with symbols that seemed to writhe in the moonlight. When we arrived, she was already dead, but her magic remained, and I, with my books and my knowledge and my rage, I claimed it. I freed the spirits she'd tortured, and they pledged themselves to me instead. This island is mine now, Miranda. Every tree, every stone, every creature that walks or crawls or flies. And tonight, 12 years after we were cast away like garbage, the men responsible are here, in my power, on my ground. As if summoned by his words, a figure appears at the edge of the jungle. It moves with unnatural grace, seeming to flicker in and out of visibility like a heat mirage. As it comes closer, it resolves into the form of a young man, or something that looks like a young man. His skin has an odd, translucent quality, like mother of pearl, and his eyes are too large, too luminous. He wears the simple clothes of an island worker cotton pants. No shirt, but there's something wrong about the way the fabric hangs on his frame, as if he's not quite solid. "Master," the creature says, and his voice sounds like wind chimes and static. "It is done. Every passenger scattered across the island, exactly as you commanded. Antonio believes his brother Sebastian drowned. Sebastian thinks Antonio is dead. The young Prince Ferdinand is separated from all of them. King Alonso weeps for a son he thinks lies at the bottom of the sea, and not one of them knows where they are or how to escape." Prospero smiles, and it's not a kind expression. "Excellent work, Ariel," he says. "Excellent work indeed." Miranda stares at the creature called Ariel with a mixture of fascination and unease. She's seen him before. Of course, he's been her father's servant for as long as she can remember, but she's never quite gotten used to him. He's too beautiful, too strange, too much like something from a dream that you can't quite recall when you wake. "Ariel is a spirit of the air," Prospero explains, seeing her expression. "He was imprisoned by Sycorax in a cloven pine tree for 12 years because he refused to carry out her evil commands. I freed him, and in exchange he serves me until his debt is paid. Isn't that right, my delicate Ariel?" The spirit bows, but there's something in his too large eyes that might be resentment. "As you say, master. Though you promised, I promised you freedom when my work is done," Prospero interrupts sharply. "And tonight that work begins in earnest. Now go. I want you to find the young prince, this Ferdinand. Lead him here with music. Make him fall in love at first sight with my daughter. Let him think it's his own heart speaking, not your enchantment." Ariel vanishes without a word, simply ceasing to exist in one spot and presumably existing somewhere else. Miranda stands, alarmed. "Father, what are you saying? You're going to make someone fall in love with me?" That's wrong." "Is it?" Prospero asks, raising an eyebrow. "Or is it simply evening the scales? These men took everything from us, child. Now I'll take something from them and give you something in return. A husband, a prince. The life you should have had if not for their treachery." Before Miranda can protest further, a sound drifts through the jungle. Music. Not from any instrument she recognizes it's Ariel's voice, but layered and echoed, like a dozen transistor radios, playing the same strange melody at slightly different frequencies. And beneath it words, "Come unto these yellow sands, and then take hands. Curt side when you have and kissed the wild waves whist. Foot it featly here and there, and sweet sprites bear the burden. Through the palm trees comes a young man, stumbling as if hypnotized. This is Ferdinand, son of King Alonso, heir to a shipping empire that spans the Caribbean. His evening clothes are torn and soaked, his dark hair plastered to his forehead. He moves like a sleepwalker, following the music, until he breaks through onto the beach and sees Miranda standing there in the moonlight. He stops, stares. For a moment, neither of them breathes. Miranda has never seen anyone like him, young, handsome, close to her own age. She spent 12 years on this island with only her aging father, the inhuman Ariel, and the twisted creature Caliban for company. Ferdinand looks to her like something from the magazines she's seen in the supply crates, like a movie star, like a dream made flesh. Ferdinand sees a girl who seems to glow with an inner light, beautiful and wild and utterly unlike the society women He's known in Havana and New Orleans. Her feet are bare, her dress simple, her hair untamed by pins or spray. She looks like an angel or a mermaid or the answer to a prayer he didn't know he was praying. "Are you real?" he whispers. "Or did I die in the storm and this is heaven?" Miranda's breath catches. She looks to her father, confused, feeling something strange blooming in her chest, something warm and terrifying and wonderful, all at once. Prospero watches them both with satisfaction. His plan is already working. But before the moment can stretch further, another sound intrudes, a harsh, guttural cursing from the jungle path. "Damn you, Prospero," a voice roars. "Damn you and your magic and your curses." Into the moonlight shambles a figure that makes Ferdinand recoil in horror. This is Caliban, and he is nothing like Ariel's ethereal beauty. He's a massive man, 6.5 feet tall, with skin darkened by the sun and scarred by old wounds. His back is twisted, hunched, the result of beatings or birth defect or both. He wears only ragged shorts, and his feet are bare and splayed, more used to climbing than walking upright. His face is brutal, thick-featured, his eyes burning with hatred, and intelligence in equal measure. "There you are, slave," Prospero says coldly, and he raises one hand. Caliban immediately falls to his knees, crying out in pain, clutching his head as if struck by invisible lightning. "Stop," Miranda cries. "Father, please." Prospero lowers his hand, and Caliban gasps for breath, drool running down his chin. "Fetch firewood," Prospero commands, "and coral for decoration. We have guests tonight, and you will serve them properly, or you'll suffer pains that make this feel like a gentle caress." Caliban looks up at Miranda with something that might be longing or might be rage. It's impossible to tell. "You used to pity me," he says to her, his voice thick with accent, part French, part island patois, part something older. "You used to teach me words, name the stars for me. Now you're like him, cruel, because you proved yourself a beast," Prospero snaps. "Now get to work before I'd make you wish you'd never been born, though your witch mother already ensured that curse." Caliban staggers to his feet and limps into the jungle, muttering curses in 3 languages. Ferdinand finds his voice. "Sir, what is this place? Who are you people?" Prospero turns to him with a smile that doesn't reach his eyes. "Welcome, young prince," he says softly, "to your judgment day." Dawn breaks over the island like a wound opening in the sky, red and gold and violent. Somewhere in the interior jungle, 3 men wake from an exhausted sleep that came more from shock than comfort. They're lying on a bed of ferns beneath a massive ceiba tree, its roots spreading around them like the fingers of a buried giant. King Alonso Navarro sits up slowly, every muscle in his body screaming protest. His fine linen suit, custom-tailored in Havana just last week, is ruined, stained with salt and mud, torn at the knee and shoulder. His hair, usually immaculately groomed, stands up in wild tufts, but none of that matters. All that matters is the absence, the terrible hole in his chest where certainty used to be. "Ferdinand," he whispers, and the name comes out like a prayer. "My son, my boy." Beside him, Gonzalo stirs. The old counselor is 70, if he's a day, his white beard stained yellow with seawater, his rheumy eyes red-rimmed and swollen. But there's a kindness in his weathered face that the storm couldn't wash away. He reaches out and places a gnarled hand on Alonso's shoulder. "We don't know for certain," Gonzalo says gently. "In that chaos, in that darkness, anyone could have survived. I saw men swept overboard who might have washed up on another part of this island. Your son is young, strong. He's a swimmer, isn't he? He was learning, Alonso says, and his voice breaks. Just learning. He'd only been taking lessons for 6 months. Oh God, Gonzalo. Oh Christ and all the saints. He's dead. My Ferdinand is dead, and it's my fault. I should never have insisted on taking the yacht. We should have flown. We should have. Should haves will drive you mad, my friend, Gonzalo interrupts firmly. We're alive. That's not nothing. We're on land, we're breathing, and where there's life, there's hope. Look around you. This island is extraordinary, and it is. Even in their grief and exhaustion, they can see the strange beauty of this place. The jungle is thick with vegetation that seems almost prehistoric. Massive ferns that could hide a man, flowering vines that drip with blooms the color of fresh blood, trees wrapped in strangler figs that create cathedral-like spaces in the canopy. Birds call out with voices that sound almost human. The air smells of orchids and rotting fruit and something else, something that might be incense or might be older than incense, something that makes the hair on the back of your neck stand up. It's like Eden, Gonzalo muses, getting stiffly to his feet and brushing dirt from his ruined trousers. If I were to found a colony here, I'd do things differently than the Spanish did. No servants, no masters. All men equal. We'd share everything: food, labor, the fruits of the earth. No money, no trade, no property. Just freedom and innocence, the way God intended before we ruined it all with our ambitions and our greed. Sebastian, who has been lying with his eyes closed, pretending to sleep, finally speaks. His voice is dry as bone, sharp as a filleting knife. Yes, Gonzalo, and in your perfect paradise you'd be king, wouldn't you? King of having nothing, ruler of doing nothing. It's easy to philosophize about equality when you've spent 60 years enjoying inequality. Gonzalo frowns. I was only trying to lift our spirits, Sebastian, to find some meaning in. Our spirits don't need lifting, Sebastian interrupts, sitting up abruptly. We need food, fresh water, and a way off this God-forsaken rock. He looks around with cold, calculating eyes. Unlike Alonso, who seems diminished by grief, Sebastian appears energized. There's a predatory quality to him, a sense that he's already 3 moves ahead in a game the others don't even know they're playing. He's the younger brother, younger by 3 years, which means he's been 3 years behind Antonio in the inheritance line his entire life. 3 years of watching his brother take what should have been shared. 3 years of playing second fiddle, of being the spare, the afterthought, the one who only matters if something happens to the heir. Something in his eyes suggests he's been thinking about what might happen to heirs for a very long time. Alonso, Sebastian says, standing and moving closer to the grieving king. My dear friend, I know you're suffering, but we need to think practically. Your son is gone. We don't know that, Gonzalo protests. And that means, Sebastian continues, ignoring the old man, that you need to start thinking about succession, about what comes next. Your daughter Clarabelle is in Tunisia, married to the king there. That's too far away to matter. Your empire needs leadership now. Someone strong. Someone who understands how power really works. Alonso looks at him with hollow eyes. What are you saying, Sebastian? I'm saying that grief can wait, Sebastian replies softly. Survival can't. From the jungle behind them comes a sound, branches breaking, something large moving through the undergrowth. All 3 men freeze. Gonzalo looks frightened. Alonso looks too numb to care. Sebastian's hand moves to his belt, where he wore a decorative knife that's somehow still there, still strapped to his hip beneath the ruins of his dinner jacket. But what emerges from the green shadows is not a wild animal. It's a man, or something that used to be a man. Antonio Delacroix steps into the clearing, and for a moment he looks like a ghost pale, dripping, his silver hair hanging lank around his face. His clothes are shredded. There are scratches on his hands and face, long red lines that might have come from thorns or fingernails. But his eyes are alive, burning with the same intelligence, the same ruthless charm that has served him so well for so many years. "Gentlemen," he says, and his Louisiana accent sounds strange and out of place in this jungle setting, like a radio broadcast from another world. "Thank God. I thought I was alone." Sebastian's face breaks into a smile, genuine or performed. It's impossible to tell. "Antonio, you made it." The two brothers embrace, and something passes between them in that moment, something unspoken but understood. These are men who recognize each other, men who know that the world is divided into those who take and those who are taken from, and they know which category they belong to. Gonzalo watches them with growing unease, though he couldn't say exactly why. "We should explore the island," he says loudly, trying to break whatever spell is forming. "Look for other survivors. Look for fresh water and food. Perhaps build a signal fire." "Yes," Alonso says dully, rising to his feet like an old man, though he's barely 50. "Yes, we should do something." But Sebastian and Antonio are looking at each other with eyes that understand opportunity when it presents itself. And on an island with no law, no witnesses, and no one to stop them, opportunity is a dangerous thing indeed. On another part of the island, two men stumble through knee-deep swamp water, cursing with every step. This is Trinculo and Stefano, the yacht's navigator and boatswain respectively, and they are decidedly not gentlemen. They're working men, hired help, and right now they're drunk. Well, Stefano is drunk. Trinculo is working on it. "I'm telling you," Stefano slurs, hoisting a waterproof bottle above his head like a trophy. "When that wave hit, I grabbed what mattered. Forget the life preservers. Forget the flares. I grabbed the captain's private stock 12 bottles of Puerto Rican rum, sealed tight, beautiful as Sunday morning." Trinculo, skinny and nervous as a whippet, sloshes through the water behind him. "You're insane. You know that? We could be dying of thirst on this island, and you grabbed booze?" "We are dying of thirst," Stefano says with drunken logic. "That's why God invented rum. Here, have another pull." He passes the bottle back, and Trinculo drinks deeply. The rum burns going down, but it burns away the fear, too, the memory of the storm, the certainty that they should be dead right now. "What do you think happened to the rich folks?" Trinculo asks, wiping his mouth with the back of his hand. "Think they made it?" "Who cares?" Stefano belches. "You know what their first act will be when we're rescued? Sue us. The help always gets blamed when something goes wrong. The crew was negligent. The crew was drunk on duty. Never mind that we didn't make the storm happen." "Yeah," Trinculo agrees bitterly. "We're always the Jesus Christ. What is that?" He's pointing at something half submerged in the swamp ahead of them. It's large, covered with a tarp or cloak, and it's moving, breathing. Stefano squints at it, swaying slightly. Is that some kind of fish? A manatee, maybe?" "Manatees don't wear clothes," Trinculo whispers, terrified. The shape groans and shifts. One massive arm emerges from beneath the covering. Human but wrong, somehow too thick, the fingers too long. Then a face appears, and both men gasp. It's Caliban, lying in the mud, trying to make himself invisible beneath an old tarpaulin. When he sees the two men staring at him, his eyes go wide with an emotion that might be fear or might be rage. "Don't hurt me," he growls, his voice thick and strange. "I'm doing my work, gathering wood. Prospero sent me. Don't report me, please." Trinculo edges closer, fascinated, despite his fear. "It talks. Good God, Stefano, it talks like a person. I am a person." Caliban roars suddenly, rising to his full height 6.5 feet of scarred, twisted muscle. Both sailors jump back, but Caliban doesn't attack. Instead, he sinks back down, his shoulders slumping. "I'm a man. My mother was Sycorax from Algiers. My father was a demon, they say, or a god, or just a sailor who didn't stay. I don't know, but I was born here. This island is mine by right, and he stole it." "Who stole it?" Stefano asks, fascinated now, the rum making him bold. "Prospero." Caliban spits the name like poison. "The white man with his books and his magic. He came here with his daughter, and at first he was kind. Taught me his language, showed me the stars' names, treated me like something human. And I showed him everything, where to find fresh water, which fruits are safe to eat, how to trap fish and birds. I gave him my island, all its secrets." His face twists with old pain. Then he turned on me, said I tried to violate his daughter, said I was a beast, a monster. Maybe I did try to touch her. Maybe I just wanted to not be alone anymore. Maybe I just wanted what they have, softness, kindness, someone to hold in the dark. But he beat me for it. Bound me with magic so painful that even thinking about disobedience makes my skull feel like it's splitting open. Stefano and Trinculo exchange glances. This is information. This is useful. "So there's a man on this island," Stefano says slowly. "A man with power. And a daughter?" "Beautiful as sunrise," Caliban whispers. "Miranda. She could be yours, you know. If you killed him, if you freed me, I'd serve you instead. I'd show you everything. I know where he sleeps when he's vulnerable. We could bash his head in with a log while he reads his books. Then the island would be ours. The woman would be ours." Trinculo laughs nervously. He's talking about murder. This monster is talking about murder. But Stefano isn't laughing. He's thinking. He's thinking about how he spent 40 years taking orders from rich men, being treated like furniture, being paid barely enough to survive. He's thinking about how it felt to watch those wealthy bastards in their evening clothes panic during the storm, to see them reduced to crying children. He's thinking about power. "Tell me more about this Prospero," Stefano says, settling down onto a fallen log and taking another pull from the rum bottle. "Tell me everything." And Caliban, desperate for allies, desperate for revenge, desperate for anything that might change his circumstances, begins to talk. Meanwhile, invisible in the air above them, Ariel listens. The spirit's translucent face shows something like pity as he watches these 3 damaged souls plot their pathetic revolution. He could stop them with a thought, drive them mad with illusions, lead them into quicksand, strike them mute. But Prospero's orders were clear. Observe, report, but let them play out their schemes. Let them reveal their true natures. Everyone on this island is being tested. Everyone is showing what they're really made of when the veneer of civilization is stripped away. And Prospero and his compound deep in the jungle sits surrounded by his books and bones and bottles of mysterious liquids, watching it all unfold through Ariel's eyes. He sees Sebastian whispering poison in Alonso's ear. He sees Antonio plotting. He sees the sailors conspiring with Caliban. He sees his daughter and Ferdinand falling genuinely in love, despite or perhaps because of his manipulations. All the pieces are moving exactly as he planned. The game is progressing. Soon, very soon, it will be time for the final moves. Time for confession, revelation, judgment. Time for everyone to face what they've done. In Prospero's compound, hidden deep within the jungle, where the ceiba trees grow so thick their canopies block out the sun, Miranda watches Ferdinand work. Her father has set him to manual labor stacking firewood, hauling water from the spring, moving heavy stones to repair a crumbling wall. It's punishment, Prospero claims, for Ferdinand's presumptuousness in calling himself a king when his father still lives. But Miranda knows better. She's watched her father for 12 years, learned to read the subtle signs of his schemes. This isn't punishment. This is theater. Ferdinand lifts another log, his dress shirt, or what remains of it, clinging to his back with sweat. He's removed his jacket and tie, rolled up his sleeves. There's a smudge of dirt across his cheekbone. He looks nothing like the polished prince who arrived last night, and somehow that makes him more beautiful to her, more real. "Please," she whispers, glancing back to make sure her father isn't watching from the window of his study. "Please rest. You'll hurt yourself." "I'll tell him you did twice as much work." Ferdinand pauses, setting down the log carefully, and turns to face her. His smile is exhausted but genuine. "I can't let you lie for me, Miranda. Though I'd stack logs until my hands bled if it meant spending time near you." She blushes, unused to such direct words. In her world, this tiny island world, there are no social graces, no courtship rituals, no rules about what young people should or shouldn't say to each other. She only knows what she feels, and what she feels is terrifying and wonderful. "Where I come from," Ferdinand continues, moving closer, "people don't talk like this, not right away. There are dances and dinner parties and chaperones. You're supposed to be coy, to play games, to pretend you don't feel what you feel. But after last night, after thinking I was going to die in that storm, all that seems stupid. Life's too short for games." "I don't know how to play games anyway," Miranda admits. "I've never met anyone my age before. Never met any young man at all, except for Caliban, and he's different." "That creature who was here this morning?" Ferdinand's expression darkens. "He looked at you in a way that made me want to." He stops himself, shakes his head. "I'm sorry. I have no right to feel protective of you. We just met, but I feel like I've known you forever," Miranda says, the words tumbling out before she can stop them. "Is that insane? Father says I'm naive, that I don't understand the world, that people aren't always what they seem. But when I look at you, I don't see deception. I see someone who's kind and honest, and I'm not that good." Ferdinand interrupts gently. "I've done things I'm not proud of. I've been spoiled, selfish. My father gave me everything, and I took it all for granted. Money, education, privilege. I never had to work for anything in my life until today. Until you." He reaches out slowly, telegraphing his movement so she can pull away if she wants. But she doesn't want to. His hand touches her face, fingers gentle against her cheek, and she feels electricity run through her entire body. "If your father lets me live," Ferdinand says softly, "if I ever get off this island, I want to take you with me." I want to marry you, Miranda. I know that's crazy. I know we just met. But I've never been more certain of anything in my life. From the window above, Prospero watches. His face is unreadable, part satisfaction, part something that might be sorrow. This is what he wanted. He's manipulated them into this moment, used Ariel's magic to make Ferdinand suggestible, placed Miranda in his path like bait in a trap. But watching them now, seeing the genuine tenderness between them, something twists in his chest. His daughter is 19. In another world, another life, she would have had her debut at Belle Rave, would have attended balls and parties, would have had dozens of suitors. She would have had choices. Here she has only Ferdinand, and Ferdinand has her only because Prospero willed it. Is this justice, Prospero murmurs to himself, or am I becoming what I hated? Am I any different from Antonio, manipulating people for my own ends? Master broods, says a voice like wind chimes, and Ariel materializes beside him, perched on the window sill, like an exotic bird. Master questions. This is new. Be silent, Prospero snaps, but there's no real heat in it. Tell me the others. What are they doing? Ariel's strange eyes gleam. Sebastian and Antonio plot murder. They'll wait until Gonzalo and Alonso sleep tonight, then cut their throats. Sebastian will become king, Antonio his most trusted advisor. They've already planned how to explain the death sharks, they'll say, or hostile natives. Prospero nods slowly. This too is expected. And the fools? The sailors have joined with Caliban. They're drunk on rum and dreams of power. Caliban has told them about the compound, about your afternoon rest. They plan to sneak in, bash your skull with a rock, steal your books, and claim the island. Stefano believes he'll become a god king. Trinculo just wants the woman and enough rum to forget his old life. Pathetic, Prospero says, but there's a note of pity in his voice. All of them reaching for power they don't understand, don't deserve. All of them willing to kill for it. He pauses. All of them just like me, 12 years ago, reaching for magic I wasn't ready for. You are nothing like them, Ariel says, and for once there's no mockery in the spirit's voice. You sought knowledge. They seek only dominance. And what's the difference, really? Prospero asks. Knowledge is dominance. Magic is control. I control you, don't I, Ariel? I freed you from the tree, yes, but then I bound you to me with different chains. Chains of debt, of obligation. Are you any freer now than you were under Sycorax? Ariel is silent for a long moment. Then, you promised me freedom when this is done. I did, Prospero agrees, and you'll have it. Tonight, everything comes to a head. Tonight I'll show them all what they really are, murderers, schemers, traitors. And then he trails off, staring at his daughter below, watching her laugh at something Ferdinand said. And then I'll have to decide what kind of man I want to be. Whether revenge is worth the cost of my own soul. The sun is beginning to set, painting the jungle in shades of crimson and gold. Night is coming, and with it the final act of Prospero's long-planned vengeance. But plans, as everyone on this island is about to learn, have a way of changing when confronted with the messy reality of human hearts. Night falls on the island like a velvet curtain, heavy and absolute. There is no electricity here, no street lights, no neon signs, only the silver coin of the moon and the scattered diamonds of stars overhead. In the jungle, things that sleep during the day wake up and begin to move. Frogs chorus in the swamps. Bats swoop between the trees. Something larger rustles through the undergrowth, hunting. In a clearing 2 miles from Prospero's compound, Alonso lies sleeping on a bed of moss, his face slack with exhaustion and grief. Beside him, Gonzalo snores gently, one hand tucked under his white-bearded chin like a child. The old man dreams of this perfect commonwealth, his island paradise, where all men are equal and kind. He doesn't see Sebastian and Antonio standing 10 feet away, watching them with murder in their eyes. "It's time," Sebastian whispers, and his voice is steady. No tremor, no hesitation. He's made his peace with what he's about to do. "You take the old man. I'll do Alonso." Quick and clean one, cut across the throat. They won't even wake up. Antonio nods, pulling a knife from his belt, a fishing knife he found washed up on the beach. Its blade rusted but still sharp enough for the job. "When we get back to civilization, we tell them the natives did it. Hostile tribesmen. We barely escaped with our lives. You've done this before, haven't you?" Sebastian asks, studying his companion's face in the moonlight. "Killed someone, I mean. There's no fear in you." Antonio's smile is cold as ice. "I told you about my brother, didn't I? How I took everything from him. But I didn't tell you the whole story. I didn't tell you that on the night they took him away, I went to the dock. I watched them put him and his little girl in that boat. The men I'd hired were supposed to scuttle it once they were out of sight of land. Supposed to make it look like an accident. But you didn't trust them to do it," Sebastian says, understanding dawning. "I didn't," Antonio confirms. "So I followed in another boat. And when they just set him adrift instead of killing him, because Gonzalo, that sentimental fool, had bribed them to show mercy, I waited until they were gone. Then I rowed out to where Prospero floated in that pathetic little dinghy, him and his daughter crying and praying. He pauses, remembering. I had a gun. It would have been easy. 1 shot, maybe 2. End it cleanly. But I couldn't quite pull the trigger with the girl watching. So I told myself the sea would do the work for me. I told myself they'd die of thirst or exposure, that it wasn't really murder if I just let nature take its course. Did they?" Sebastian breathes. "I don't know," Antonio admits. "I assume so. They couldn't have survived. Not out there, not without supplies or navigation. But sometimes late at night I wonder. I dream about my brother, and in the dreams he's still alive somewhere, waiting, planning his revenge." He shakes his head as if to clear it. "Ridiculous, of course. Prospero is dead. Has been for 12 years. Then this should be easy," Sebastian says, raising his own knife, a letter opener that survived the wreck, in his jacket pocket. "This is just practical. Alonso is broken. He'll never recover from losing Ferdinand, and his empire needs strong leadership. He takes a step toward his sleeping friend, the man who has trusted him for 20 years, who made him godfather to Ferdinand, who has never shown him anything but kindness and loyalty. The knife rises, and then music fills the clearing, and possible music, coming from everywhere and nowhere. It sounds like a theremin mixed with human voices, like radio static shaped into melody. Both men freeze, their hair standing on end. "What is that?" Antonio hisses. From the shadows Ariel appears, though they cannot see him. The spirit moves between them and their intended victims, and suddenly both men are overwhelmed by drowsiness. Their eyelids grow heavy, the knives slip from their fingers. "Sleep," Ariel whispers, and his voice becomes part of the strange music. "Sleep and dream of your sins. Dream of the men you would have been if you'd chosen differently." Sebastian and Antonio collapse to the ground, unconscious before they hit the earth. At the same moment, Gonzalo jerks awake with a gasp. His old heart is pounding, seized by inexplicable dread. He looks around wildly and sees the two men lying nearby, knives on the ground beside them. "Alonso!" he shouts, shaking the king awake. "Alonso, wake up! Look!" They were. Alonso wakes slowly, confused. He sees Sebastian and Antonio unconscious, sees the weapons, and understanding slowly dawns on his face. But it's not shock he feels. It's a terrible, hollow unsurprise, as if some part of him always knew the world was this rotten. "They were going to kill us," Gonzalo says, his voice shaking. "Your own brother-in-law, your trusted friend, while we slept." "Maybe they were just defending themselves," Alonso says dully. "Maybe they thought we were a threat. With us sleeping?" Gonzalo's voice rises. "Be reasonable, Alonso. Look at where the knives are pointing. They were standing over us, and some providence, some miracle stopped them." Alonso stares at the unconscious men and feels nothing. No anger, no betrayal, just a vast emptiness. "My son is dead," he says quietly. "After that, what does any of this matter? Let them kill me. At least I'd be with Ferdinand." "Don't say that," Gonzalo pleads. "Don't let grief make you give up. We'll tie them up. We'll watch them. And when we're rescued, they'll face justice." But even as he says it, Gonzalo wonders what justice means anymore. They're on an island that seems to operate by different rules than the world they knew. An island where music comes from nowhere and would-be murderers fall asleep at the crucial moment. An island that feels less like a random piece of geography and more like a stage, with an unseen director arranging everything for maximum dramatic effect. "Something is watching us," Gonzalo whispers, looking up at the dark canopy overhead. "Something that wants us to see what we've become." He's more right than he knows. Miles away in the drunken camp of Caliban, Stefano, and Trinculo, a different kind of conspiracy unfolds. The rum is nearly gone now, and with it the last vestiges of common sense. "We'll be gods," Stefano shouts, swaying on his feet. "Gods of this island?" "Caliban says there's fruit that never runs out, fish that jump right into your hands, and a woman so beautiful she'll make us forget every barmaid and society girl we ever knew. All we gotta do is kill one old man," Trinculo giggles. "One old man with his books and his magic tricks. How hard can that be?" Caliban watches them with dark, calculating eyes. These fools are not the allies he hoped for, but they're the allies he has. And once Prospero is dead, once the tyrant is gone, Caliban can deal with these drunk idiots. He'll lead them into the swamp, maybe, or poison their water, or simply wait for the island to kill them. This island that loves him, that knows him, that was his mother's before it was anyone's. "We go at dawn," Caliban says, "when he's tired from his magic work, when his spirit servant is away on errands. I know the way. I know where he keeps his books burned, those, and he's powerless. Then the girl is ours," Stefano leers. Something flickers across Caliban's face, something that might be shame, or might be longing, or might be the twisted logic of a man who has been denied everything soft and kind for so long that he no longer knows the difference between love and possession. Above them, Ariel listens from the treetops and feels something like disgust, but he does not interfere. Not yet. Prospero's instructions were clear. Let them come. Let them reveal themselves completely. The island holds its breath. Every conspiracy, every plot, every secret plan is moving toward convergence. And at the center of it all sits Prospero, surrounded by his books and his power and his terrible loneliness, wondering if revenge will taste as sweet as he's imagined for 12 long years.
In the compound, as the conspiracies swirl in the darkness beyond, Ferdinand and Miranda sit together on the veranda. A single kerosene lamp burns between them, casting their faces in warm gold light. Prospero has retired to his study, or so they believe. In truth, he watches from the shadows, silent as a ghost. "Tell me about the world," Miranda says softly. "The real world, beyond this island?" "Father tells me things, but it's all filtered through his bitterness. I want to know what it's really like." Ferdinand thinks carefully before answering. "It's beautiful and terrible," he says finally. "There are cities where buildings reach up to touch the sky, where thousands of people live packed together like sardines. There are cars that can go 100 miles an hour, airplanes that can cross oceans. We have television now moving pictures that come right into your living room. Music on the radio whenever you want it. It sounds like magic," Miranda breathes. "It is, in a way," Ferdinand agrees. "But it's also complicated. There are great injustices. In my country, in the American South, people with dark skin can't eat at the same restaurants as white people, can't drink from the same water fountains. There was a war just 9 years ago that killed millions, killed them with bombs so powerful they can destroy entire cities in a flash of light." Miranda's eyes widen. "That's horrible." "It is," Ferdinand says. "And there's another war happening now, in Korea, and there might be another one soon, bigger than all the others. If America and Russia can't figure out how to coexist, the whole world is balanced on a knife's edge, Miranda. One wrong move and we could destroy ourselves. Then why go back?" she asks. "Why not stay here, where it's simple, where there's just us and the sea and the sky?" Ferdinand takes her hand, his thumb tracing circles on her palm, because isolation isn't the answer. "Your father tried that, and look what it's made him powerful. Yes, but alone, consumed by revenge. The world is messy and complicated and often cruel, but it's also full of beauty and possibility. Jazz music and poetry, science that can cure diseases, art that can make you weep. People fighting for justice, for equality, for something better. And you think I belong there?" Miranda asks. "In that world?" "I think you belong wherever you choose to be," Ferdinand says. "But I hope God, Miranda, I hope you choose to be with me. I know we just met. I know this is insane. I've never felt like this before. Like I was sleepwalking through my whole life until yesterday. I didn't even know I had a heart until you touched it." She leans forward, and so does he, and their lips meet in a kiss that is tentative at first, then deeper, more certain. It's Miranda's first kiss, and it tastes like salt air and possibility. From the shadows, Prospero closes his eyes. There is triumph in his expression, but also loss. His little girl is grown. His little girl is leaving him, just as he planned, just as he orchestrated. The revenge is working perfectly. So why does it hurt? Or sound makes him turn, footsteps approaching through the jungle. Multiple sets of footsteps, trying and failing to be quiet. Drunken conspirators, right on schedule. Prospero steps out of the shadows and moves silently to where. His books are kept, leather-bound volumes stacked on shelves in his study. Pages filled with arcane symbols and formulas and secrets stolen from a dozen different traditions. He touches them like old friends. Then he snaps his fingers, and Ariel appears instantly, shimmering into existence like heat haze. "They come," Prospero says quietly. "All of them," Ariel confirms. "The murderers and the drunks. Shall I stop them? Drive them mad? Turn them back?" Prospero's quiet for a long moment. "No," he says finally. "Let them come. Let them see what they're capable of. But protect Miranda and Ferdinand. Whatever happens, they must not be harmed. And you, Master?" "I can protect myself," Prospero says, and there's something cold and final in his voice. "I've spent 12 years preparing for this night. 12 years studying, learning, binding spirits and elements to my will. These fools think they can hurt me. Let them try." But even as he says it, doubt gnaws at him. What has he become? The men approaching through the darkness are pathetica, twisted slaves seeking freedom through violence. 2 drunken sailors seeking escape through fantasy. They're not threats, not even worthy adversaries. They're just damaged men making desperate choices, just like he was 12 years ago. The sound of breaking branches grows louder, Caliban's voice harsh and eager. There is the compound. I see the lights. Stefano's drunken giggling. We're going to be kings. Kings of paradise. Trinculo's nervous laughter. This is crazy. This is absolutely crazy. Ferdinand and Miranda pull apart, startled. What was that? Miranda asks. Stay behind me, Ferdinand says immediately, standing and looking around for something to use as a weapon. He finds a heavy piece of firewood and hefts it. Prospero steps out onto the veranda, and his presence seems to fill the space, to make the lamplight flicker and dim.
Go inside,
He tells his daughter quietly. Both of you, lock the door. What comes next is not for your eyes. Father Miranda begins. Now, Prospero says, and there's such command in his voice that they both obey. Ferdinand taking Miranda's hand and pulling her into the compound's interior. Alone on the veranda, Prospero waits. The jungle falls silent, as if every bird and insect and tree is holding its breath. The conspirators burst from the foliage, Caliban in the lead, his twisted form moving with surprising speed, followed by Stefano and Trinculo stumbling and laughing. They stop when they see Prospero standing there, calm and terrible in the lamplight. Hello, Caliban, Prospero says softly. I've been expecting you. Caliban's face contorts with rage and fear. Kill him, screams. Kill him now before he can speak his curses. But Stefano and Trinculo have frozen, sobering rapidly. Realizing with drunken slowness that this is real, that they're actually about to try to murder a man. Who are you? Stefano asks, his voice suddenly small. Prospero smiles, and it's not a kind expression. I am the storm that brought you here, he says. I am the power that rules this island. And you pathetic, grasping fools, you are about to learn what happens when you reach for things beyond your comprehension. He raises one hand. The wind begins to rise.
The wind doesn't just blow, it screams. It tears through the compound with focused fury, knocking Stefano and Trinculo to their knees, but leaving Prospero's hair barely ruffled. The kerosene lamp stays lit, its flame burning and possibly steady, while everything else whips and churns around it. Master, please. Trinculo wails, covering his head with his arms. We didn't mean it. It was just talk, just drunk talk. But Caliban stands his ground, trembling with rage that overrides his fear. You're no god, he roars at Prospero. You're just a man with stolen power. This island was mine. My mother's before me. You have no right. Rights? Prospero's voice cuts through the wind like a blade. You want to talk about rights? You, who tried to force yourself on my daughter. You, who would have murdered me in my sleep and called it justice. She was kind to me once, Caliban shouts, and there are tears streaming down his ruined face now. She was the only one who ever looked at me like I was human, and you poisoned her against me, made her afraid of me, took the only soft thing in my miserable life and turned it to ashes. For just a moment, something flickers across Prospero's face, something that might be guilt or might be recognition. You made her afraid, he says, but his voice is less certain now. Your actions, not my words. I didn't know. Caliban's voice breaks. Didn't know how to be gentle? My mother never taught me. She was cruel, used me like a tool, beat me when I displeased her. And when she died, I was alone, 12 years old and alone on this island. Then you came, and you showed me kindness, and I thought maybe he can't finish. He sinks to his knees, this massive, twisted man, and sobs like the abandoned child he once was. Stefano and Trinculo stare at him, then at Prospero, then at each other. The rum fog has lifted, and in its place is the sick realization of what they almost did. We'll go, Stefano says quickly, scrambling to his feet. We'll leave. We won't bother you again. Please, sir. We're just hired help. We don't matter. Let us go. Prospero looks at them, really looks at them, not as threats or conspirators, but as what they are, scared, damaged men who saw a chance at something better and grabbed it without thinking. Men not so different from himself. Ariel, he says quietly. The spirit materializes, hovering in the air like a beautiful hallucination. Yes, master? Take these two back to the beach, Prospero says, gesturing at the sailors. Let them sleep off their drunkenness. In the morning, they'll remember this night as nothing more than a bad dream. Relief floods both men's faces. Ariel gestures, and they simply vanish, blinking out of existence like candles being snuffed. Only Caliban remains, kneeling in the dirt, his shoulders shaking. And you? Prospero says, moving closer. What am I to do with you? Kill me, Caliban whispers. End it. I'm tired of this half-life, neither beast nor man, neither slave nor free. Just end it. Prospero stares down at him, this creature he's tormented for 12 years, and sees something he's been avoiding for a very long time, his own reflection. Caliban is what he could have become, what he's been becoming, twisted by isolation and anger and the abuse of power. Get up, Prospero says, and his voice is different now, softer, almost kind. Caliban looks up, suspicious and confused. I said, get up. Prospero offers his hand. Slowly, as if expecting a trap, Caliban takes it. Prospero helps him to his feet, and they stand facing each other, the master and the slave, the colonizer and the colonized, both of them damaged, both of them alone. I have been cruel to you, Prospero says, and the words seem to cost him something. Your crime was real, but my punishment has been excessive. I saw in you everything I feared, the beast inside me, the violence I'm capable of. And so I broke you over and over to prove I wasn't like you. You're worse than me, Caliban says, but there's no heat in it now, just exhaustion. At least I'm honest about what I am. Yes, Prospero agrees. You are, and perhaps that makes you the better man. Before either can say more, a commotion erupts from the direction of the beach. Shouting voices, running footsteps. Gonzalo's voice calling out, Hello, is anyone there? We need help. There's been treachery. Prospero turns toward the sound, and his face hardens again. The other conspirators, he murmurs. The ones with actual power, actual blood on their hands. He looks back at Caliban. Go, stay out of sight. When this is over, we'll talk again. Caliban nods slowly and melts back into the jungle shadows. Prospero straightens his shoulders, feeling the weight of his magic settle around him like an old coat. This is it, the moment he's been waiting 12 years for. Antonio and Sebastian are coming, the men who destroyed his life, and he has the power to destroy them in turn. But as he stands there waiting, he feels Miranda's presence behind him. She's emerged from the compound, despite his orders, with Ferdinand protective at her side. Father, she says quietly, whatever you're planning, whatever you're about to do, please, remember that revenge doesn't heal. It just spreads the wound. You don't understand what they took from me, Prospero says without turning around. I understand that you've spent 12 years making yourself into exactly the kind of man you claim to hate. Miranda replies, I understand that I've watched you become harder, colder, more isolated every year. I understand that you're so consumed with the past that you can't see the present. The present is what I make it, Prospero says. No, Miranda says firmly. The present is what we make it, together, and I'm asking you, begging you, to choose forgiveness instead of vengeance. To choose to be the man I remember from when I was small, the man who was kind and wise and believed in redemption. Gonzalo bursts into the clearing, supporting a dazed Alonso. Behind them, wrists bound with vines, come Sebastian and Antonio, prodded forward by an invisible force that is clearly Ariel's doing. Antonio sees Prospero and freezes. The color drains from his face as if he's seen a ghost which, in a sense, he has. "Prospero," he whispers. "No, no, you're dead. You died 12 years ago." "Did I?" Prospero asks, and his voice is soft as silk and sharp as razors. "Or did I simply wait, brother? Wait for this moment when I could show you what it feels like to lose everything." The stage is set, the players are assembled, and Prospero stands at the crossroads between the man he was and the man he's become, with his daughter's words echoing in his ears and his brother's terrified face before his eyes. What he does next will define him forever. The compound becomes a courtroom under the stars. Prospero has arranged them all with theatrical precision. Antonio and Sebastian forced to their knees in the center, still bound. Alonso standing beside them, his face gray with shock and confusion. Gonzalo off to the side, his old eyes wide with wonder and fear. Ferdinand and Miranda watching from the veranda, hand in hand, and Prospero himself circling them like a prosecutor, like a priest, like an avenging angel. 12 years, he begins, his voice carrying through the night. 12 years I have waited for this moment. 12 years alone on this island, with nothing but my books and my rage and my daughter to keep me company. Do you know what 12 years of hatred does to a man, Antonio? Do you know how it calcifies in your chest, turns your heart to stone? Antonio's mouth works, but no sound comes out. He looks older than he did just hours ago, his silver hair wild, his expensive clothes in tatters, his confident bearing completely shattered. "You were my brother," Prospero continues, "and now there's pain beneath the anger. I trusted you with everything. While I studied, while I learned, while I tried to understand the deeper mysteries of this world, you managed the estate. And I was grateful. I thought we were partners, family, bound by blood and love. Prospero, Antonio starts. Silence. The word cracks like thunder, and Antonio's mouth snaps shut as if an invisible hand has covered it. You don't get to speak yet. Not until you've heard what your ambition cost. You didn't just take my property, brother. You didn't just steal my name and money and position. You took my daughter's childhood. You took her education, her society, her chance at a normal life. She's 19 years old, and she's never been to a school dance. Never had a birthday party with friends. Never even seen another girl her own age. Miranda's hand tightens on Ferdinand's. She hadn't thought of it quite that way before, hadn't tallied up all the absences in her life. But hearing her father list them, she feels the weight of what was stolen. And you? Prospero turns to Sebastian, who flinches. You're not even blood. You're just a jackal who saw opportunity. I heard you tonight, you know. Heard you planning to murder Alonso while he slept. Your own friend who has shown you nothing but trust and generosity. Were you always this hollow inside? Or did Antonio teach you how to be a monster? Sebastian's face flushes with shame, but he says nothing. What can he say? He was caught with a knife in his hand. Alonso finally finds his voice. Prospero Delacroix, he says slowly, as if testing the name. I remember you. Antonio's older brother. There was a scandal. They said you'd gone mad, died in a fire. Convenient story, wasn't it? Prospero says bitterly. And you believed it. Everyone believed it. Because Antonio is charming, persuasive, knows exactly what to say to make people trust him. I didn't know, Alonso says, and there's genuine anguish in his voice. I swear to God I didn't know. If you had what? Prospero challenges. Would you have investigated? Would you have demanded proof? Or would you have simply accepted the word of a man who could make you money, who could smooth your business deals, who could open doors for you? Alonso has no answer. The truth is, he probably wouldn't have questioned it. That's how the world works. You trust the people who serve your interests. Look at all of you, Prospero says, spreading his arms wide. Captains of industry, leaders of men, respected, wealthy, powerful. And beneath it all, you're just animals. Given the chance, given the opportunity, you'd all kill to protect what you have or take what you want. And you're different? Antonio finally manages to speak, his voice hoarse. You stand there with your magic and your judgment, but you're no better. You're worse. You orchestrated all of this. The storm, the shipwreck, separating us, tormenting us. You played God with our lives? Yes, Prospero admits quietly. I did, and that's the difference between us, brother. I know I'm a monster. I chose to become one, consciously, deliberately, because I needed to survive. But you became a monster while still believing you were human. You destroyed your own brother while telling yourself it was just business, just necessary, just the way the world works. He moves closer to Antonio, crouches down so they're eye to eye. I could kill you now, he whispers. I have the power. I could have you torn apart by spirits. Could have the jungle swallow you whole. Could drive you insane and leave you gibbering on this beach for the rest of your miserable life. And part of me, the part that's been waiting 12 years, wants to do exactly that. Antonio's breathing is rapid, panicked. Sweat pours down his face. Please, he whispers. Prospero, please. But my daughter, Prospero continues, standing again, my beautiful, wise daughter, has reminded me of something I'd forgotten. Revenge doesn't heal. It just spreads the wound. If I kill you, I don't get my life back. I just become you someone willing to destroy family for personal satisfaction. He turns away, walking to the edge of the compound, staring out into the dark jungle. Behind him, everyone waits in suspended silence. I spent 12 years learning magic, Prospero says finally. Learning to command spirits, to control the weather, to bend the natural world to my will. And do you know what the hardest magic is? The most powerful spell in any grimoire. Forgiveness, letting go, choosing to be something other than your worst self. He turns back, and in the lamplight his face looks ancient and young at the same time. I'm not going to kill you, Antonio. Or you, Sebastian. I'm not even going to punish you in any way you'd understand. I'm going to do something much harder. I'm going to forgive you. Antonio stares at him, uncomprehending. What? I forgive you, Prospero repeats, and as he says it, some of the tension leaves his body. Not because you deserve it. Not because what you did was acceptable. But because carrying this hatred is killing me, and I'm tired of dying. I'm tired of being angry. I'm tired of being alone on this island with nothing but my bitterness for company. Gonzalo, who has been silent this whole time, speaks up. My boy, he says, his old voice cracking with emotion, my dear boy, I tried to save you. That night I bribed the men. I put supplies in your boat. I didn't know if it would be enough, but I know, Prospero says, turning to him with something like warmth. I know, old friend, and you saved my life. Without those supplies, without my books, we would have died. I've never forgotten your kindness." "Then you know," Gonzalo says, tears streaming into his white beard, "that not all men are monsters, that even in the darkest moments there can be grace." Prospero nods slowly. "Yes, I know that now. The word forgiveness hangs in the air like smoke from the kerosene lamp." Antonio slowly raises his head, his face a mask of confusion and something that might be relief or might be terror. Sometimes they look the same. "I don't understand," Antonio says. "You have all the power here. You could make me suffer. Why wouldn't you?" "Because suffering doesn't undo the past," Prospero says. "It just creates more suffering, an endless chain of it, stretching back to the beginning of time. Someone has to break the chain. Why not me? Why not now?" He gestures, and the vines binding Antonio and Sebastian's wrists simply fall away, turning to dust as they hit the ground. Both men rub their wrists, staring at Prospero with wary incomprehension. "But there will be conditions," Prospero continues, his voice hardening slightly. "You will return to Louisiana. You will legally restore the Delacroix name to me and to Miranda. You will sign over half of everything you took, half the property, half the investments, half the holdings. The other half you may keep as payment for 12 years of management." Antonio nods quickly. Yes, of course. "Whatever you want, and you will tell the truth," Prospero adds. "To everyone. The governor, the business partners, the society ladies who attended my funeral. You will tell them what you did, how you did it, and why." "That will ruin me," Antonio whispers. "Yes," Prospero agrees. "It probably will, but it won't kill you. And that, brother, is the mercy I'm offering. Your life for your reputation? A fair trade, I think." He turns to Sebastian. "And you? You will confess to Alonso what you attempted tonight. You will face whatever consequences he deems appropriate. And you will spend the rest of your life trying to become someone worthy of the forgiveness you don't deserve." Sebastian swallows hard, then nods. He turns to Alonso, who has been standing silent through all of this, his face unreadable. "Alonso," Sebastian begins, his voice shaking. I was going to kill you tonight while you slept. I had the knife at your throat, and if something hadn't stopped me, some miracle or magic, you'd be dead right now. And I'd have taken your throne, your empire, everything. I'm sorry. God help me, I'm so sorry." Alonso looks at him for a long moment. Then, moving slowly like a man under water, he draws back his fist and punches Sebastian square in the jaw. Sebastian goes down hard, blood streaming from his split lip. "That's for the betrayal," Alonso says quietly. Then he offers his hand and helps Sebastian back to his feet. "And this is because I'm too tired and too broken to hate anyone anymore. My son is dead. Nothing else matters." "About that," Prospero says, and something like a smile plays at the corners of his mouth. "Ferdinand, would you mind joining us?" Ferdinand steps forward from the veranda, Miranda still clutching his hand. As they move into the lamplight, Alonso's face goes through a transformation, from confusion to disbelief to hope to joy, each emotion washing over him like a wave. "Ferdinand?" he breathes. "Ferdinand? Father." Ferdinand releases Miranda's hand and runs to his father, and the two men embrace, both of them sobbing openly. Alonso clutches his son like a drowning man clutching driftwood, his whole body shaking. "I thought you were dead," Alonso gasps. "I thought I'd lost you." "Oh God, oh thank God. I'm alive," Ferdinand says, laughing and crying at the same time. I'm alive, and father, I'm in love. I've found the woman I want to marry. He pulls back and gestures to Miranda, who stands in the lamplight, looking both shy and luminous. Alonso stares at her, then at Prospero, then back at her. Your daughter? He asks Prospero. My daughter, Prospero confirms. Miranda. She's 19, intelligent, kind, and far too good for your son. But then, who among us deserves the love we receive? She's beautiful, Alonso says, moving toward her. My dear, I'm honored. If my son has won your heart, then you've given my family a gift beyond price. Miranda curtsies slightly, awkward and graceful at once. The honor is mine, sir. Ferdinand has told me about the world beyond this island. I'm frightened of it, if I'm honest. But I'm more frightened of staying here forever, trapped in the past. She looks at her father as she says this, and Prospero hears the message beneath her words. She's ready to leave. Ready to leave. Ready to be free of this island prison, even if it's the only home she's ever known. The wedding will be in New Orleans, Alonso says, his enthusiasm building. No expense spared. The governor will attend. The archbishop will officiate. It will be the event of the season. New Orleans, Prospero repeats softly, and the name of his old city sounds strange on his lips after 12 years. I haven't been back since I drove you out, Antonio finishes quietly, since I stole everything from you. But you'll return now as a hero, as a legend, the man who survived the impossible. They'll write stories about you. I don't want stories, Prospero says. I just want peace. Gonzalo, who has been watching all of this with tears of joy running down his face, finally speaks up. This is providence, he says. Divine providence. We were brought here through storm and suffering and terror so that all these old wrongs could be righted, so that young people could fall in love and old enemies could be reconciled. This island is holy ground. This island is tired, says a voice from the darkness, and Caliban emerges from the shadows. Everyone tenses except Prospero, who simply nods as if expecting him. Tired of white men and their dramas, Caliban continues, moving into the light. Several of the men recoil from his appearance, but he ignores them, his eyes fixed on Prospero. You're all leaving, then? Going back to your world of cities and ships and money? Yes, Prospero says. Yes, we are. And that leaves you, Caliban. What do you want? What I've always wanted, Caliban says. My island back. No masters. No magic. Just me and the trees and the sea, the way it was before. Prospero nods slowly. Then it's yours. I'll break the spells that bind you. I'll leave you the compound, the supplies, everything we can't carry. The island will be yours again, as it should have been all along. Just like that? Caliban asks suspiciously. No tricks? No curses? No tricks, Prospero confirms. You deserve that much. You deserved it from the beginning. I made you a slave because I was afraid, and fear makes monsters of us all. I'm sorry, Caliban, for what I did to you, for what I made you become. Caliban stares at him for a long moment, then nods once, sharply. I'll never forgive you, he says flatly, but I accept your apology. That's the best I can offer. It's enough, Prospero says. More than enough. The night is beginning to fade, the sky turning from black to deep blue at the edges. Dawn is coming, and with it, the end of an era. Prospero stands apart from the others now, staring at his hands as if seeing them for the first time. Ariel, he calls softly. The spirit appears instantly, shimmering into existence beside him. For once, Ariel's strange face shows open curiosity. Master calls? One last time, Prospero says. One last time I call you master, and then never again. I'm releasing you, Ariel, from your debt, from your service, from everything that binds you to me. You're free. Ariel's luminous eyes widen. Free? Truly? Truly, Prospero confirms. You've served me faithfully for 12 years. You've done everything I asked, no matter how petty or cruel. You deserve your freedom more than anyone here. What will you do without your magic? Ariel asks, and there's something almost like concern in his otherworldly voice. Prospero gestures to his study, where his precious books are stacked. At dawn, I'm going to burn them. All of them. The grimoires, the texts on island magic, the formulas and incantations. Everything I've learned, everything I've used to survive here, all of it goes into the fire. That knowledge is power, Ariel says. Are you certain? I'm certain that it's the wrong kind of power, Prospero replies. It's the power to control, to dominate, to bend the world to your will. And that's exactly the kind of power that corrupted Antonio, that twisted Sebastian, that turned me into something I never wanted to be. If I take it back to civilization, I'll use it. I know myself well enough to admit that, and the temptation will destroy whatever humanity I have left. He pulls the charm from around his neck, the wooden carving covered in symbols, and looks at it one last time. Magic taught me that you can force people to do what you want. But my daughter taught me something more important, that the only things worth having are the things freely given. Love, trust, forgiveness. You can't compel those, not really. You can only open yourself to receiving them. Miranda, who has been listening, moves closer to her father. You're really giving it all up? The power that kept us alive? The power that kept us prisoner, Prospero corrects gently. Every day I spent mastering these arts was a day I spent nursing my hatred, planning my revenge, becoming less human and more like the spirits I commanded. I've been dead for 12 years, Miranda. Just a ghost going through the motions, waiting for this moment of vengeance. But now that it's here, I find I don't want revenge anymore. I want life. I want to be your father again, not some magician king on a forgotten island. He turns to the assembled men: Antonio, Sebastian, Alonso, Gonzalo, even Caliban standing at the edge of the light. I'm coming back to the world as an ordinary man. No magic, no supernatural power, just Prospero Delacroix with all my weaknesses and failures exposed. And I'm trusting you, all of you, not to destroy me again. That's the hardest magic of all, trust. Antonio steps forward hesitantly. Brother, I don't know if I can be the man you need me to be. I've been selfish and cruel for so long, I'm not sure I remember how to be anything else. Then learn, Prospero says simply. We'll both learn together. How to be brothers again. How to be human. It won't be easy, and I'll probably hate you some days, and you'll hate me right back. But we'll try. That's all anyone can do, try. Stefano and Trinculo emerge from the jungle, looking hungover and confused. They stop when they see everyone gathered. What's happening? Trinculo asks nervously. A rescue, Gonzalo says warmly. There's a Navy patrol boat that searches these waters. I saw it marked on the maps in Havana. They pass this area every 3 days. If we build a signal fire on the highest point of the island, they'll see it. We'll be back in civilization within a week. And then? Ferdinand asks, looking between his father and Miranda. Then we start living, Alonso says. Really living. Not just accumulating money and power, but actually experiencing life. My son is getting married. My enemy has become my friend. I have a second chance that I never earned and certainly don't deserve. I'm not going to waste it. Prospero moves to his study and begins gathering his books. One by one, he carries them outside and stacks them in a pile. The leather bindings are cracked and stained from years in the tropical climate. The pages are yellowed, covered in his careful handwriting, mixed with older texts in Latin or Greek and languages that predate both. These books cost me everything, he says, striking a match. My home, my reputation, 12 years of my life. They gave me power, but they took my soul in exchange. That's always the bargain, isn't it? Power for humanity. Control for connection. He drops the match. The books catch immediately, flames racing through the dried pages. The fire builds quickly, sending smoke and sparks spiraling into the pre-dawn sky. Prospero watches them burn with an expression of profound relief, as if he's setting down a burden he's carried for too long. Ariel watches too, hovering in the air above the fire. As the books burn, something changes in the spirit's appearance. He becomes more solid, more real, less like a mirage, and more like an actual living thing. I can feel it, Ariel breathes, the bonds breaking. Master Prospero, thank you. Thank you. Where will you go? Miranda asks him. Ariel smiles, and it's an expression of pure joy. Everywhere, nowhere, into the wind and the waves and the space between raindrops. I'll be the music you hear when no one's playing, the light that flickers at the corner of your eye. I'll be free, and with that he simply dissolves, not vanishing, but spreading out, becoming part of the air itself. For just a moment, everyone feels a gentle breeze touch their faces, warm and kind like a benediction. Then he's gone. The books burn down to ash as the sun breaks over the horizon, painting everything gold and red and new. A new day. A new beginning. Come on, Prospero says, turning away from the ashes of his old life. We have a signal fire to build. And after that, we have a future to figure out, together. By mid-morning, the signal fire blazes on the island's highest point, a rocky outcropping that rises above the jungle canopy, like a bald head above green hair. They've fed it palm fronds and driftwood and anything else that will create thick, dark smoke visible for miles across the Caribbean Sea. The work has done something unexpected. It's brought them together, Antonio and Prospero working side by side to drag timber up the hillside. Ferdinand and Miranda laughing as they gather kindling. Even Sebastian, who helps Gonzalo navigate the steep path, offering his arm to steady the old man. They're exhausted, sweating, covered in dirt and ash. They look nothing like the wealthy aristocrats who boarded a yacht in Havana just 2 days ago. They look like survivors. Caliban watches from a distance, not helping, but not hindering either. He's been quiet since Prospero burned his books, as if he doesn't quite believe it's real yet, doesn't trust that the magic is truly gone, and won't come roaring back the moment he lets his guard down. There, Trinculo shouts suddenly, pointing toward the horizon. A ship! I see a ship. And there it is, a gray speck against the blue, growing larger by the minute. A Navy patrol boat, exactly as Gonzalo predicted. Its American flag visible, even at this distance. They've seen us, Alonso says, shading his eyes against the sun. They're changing course. Coming this way, the relief is palpable, washing over the group like a physical wave. Stefano and Trinculo embrace, jumping up and down like children. Ferdinand lifts Miranda, and spins her around, both of them laughing. Even Gonzalo weeps openly, thanking God in rapid Spanish. But Prospero stands very still, watching the ship approach, and his face is unreadable. This is what he wanted: escape, return, restoration. So why does he feel like he's losing something? Miranda comes to stand beside him, slipping her hand into his. "Are you all right, Father?" "I don't know," he admits quietly. "For 12 years this island has been my prison, but it's also been my kingdom. I knew every tree, every stream, every creature. I was powerful here, important. And now I'm going back to being just another man in a world full of men. Just another man who survived the impossible," Miranda reminds him. "Just another man who chose forgiveness over vengeance. That makes you extraordinary, Father, with or without magic." He squeezes her hand, grateful. "When did you become so wise?" "I had a good teacher," she says. "When he wasn't busy plotting revenge, anyway." That startles a laugh out of him, his first genuine laugh and longer than he can remember. The patrol boat drops anchor in the shallow water, and sailors in white uniforms wade ashore in a small dinghy. The lieutenant in charge looks bewildered at the sight before him. Well-dressed men and a beautiful young woman, all shipwrecked, but apparently unharmed, waving from the beach. "Are you folks from the yacht Alonso?" the lieutenant asks. "We received a distress call 2 days ago, but by the time we reached those coordinates, there was nothing there but debris." "That's us," Alonso confirms, stepping forward. "I am Alonso Navarro. This is my son Ferdinand, and these are my associates. Our yacht was destroyed in the storm, but we managed to make it to this island. We've been waiting for rescue." The lieutenant's eyes widen. "Mr. Navarro?" "Sir, there are search planes out, looking for you. The Cuban Navy, the Coast Guard, half the Caribbean, thinks you're dead. Your wife is beside herself. Then let's get word to her immediately," Alonso says. "She's suffered enough." As the sailors begin organizing the rescue, ferrying people to the patrol boat in groups, Prospero finds himself standing with Caliban one last time. The two men face each other in the shade of a palm tree, years of complexity between them. "So you're really leaving?" Caliban says. "It's not a question." "Yes," Prospero confirms. "And you're really staying?" "This is my home," Caliban says simply. "The only place I've ever belonged. Without you here, without your magic pressing down on everything, maybe I can make it into something good again, clean, peaceful." "I hope you do," Prospero says, and means it. "I hope you find happiness here, Caliban." "You deserve that much after everything I put you through." Caliban nods slowly. "I won't forget you, Prospero. I'll remember you every day as a warning. A reminder of what happens when powerful men decide they know what's best for everyone else." "Good," Prospero says. "Remember me that way. Let my mistakes teach you something. That's the only redemption I can ask for." He reaches into his pocket and pulls out a compass brass and old, one of the few items he brought from Louisiana 12 years ago. "Here, take this, in case you ever change your mind about being alone. In case you ever want to find your way back to the world." Caliban takes it carefully, as if it might burn him. He turns it over in his large, scarred hands. "Why would I want that?" "Because isolation can be its own kind of prison," Prospero says quietly. "Trust me, I know. Don't make my mistakes, Caliban. Don't let anger and pain turn you into something less than human. Stay connected, somehow, even if it's just allowing passing sailors to visit or trading with fishing boats. Don't cut yourself off completely." For a moment, something softens in Caliban's brutal features. Maybe, he says, someday. Not yet. But maybe. They don't shake hands. They don't embrace. They simply nod to each other, two damaged men who'll never be friends, but have reached something like understanding. Miranda comes running down the beach. Father, they're ready for us. It's our turn. Prospero takes one last look at the island, at the green jungle and white sand and blue water, at the compound where he spent 12 years becoming someone he didn't recognize. Then he turns his back on it and walks toward the dinghy, toward his daughter, toward the future. The patrol boat is cramped and loud and smells of diesel fuel and salt. The rescued passengers crowd below deck, wrapped in Navy-issue blankets, drinking hot coffee that tastes like heaven despite being overbrewed and bitter. How long until we reach port? Antonio asks the lieutenant. We'll make Nassau by nightfall, the officer replies. From there, we can arrange flights to Havana, New Orleans, wherever you need to go. The State Department is handling it, apparently rescuing people of your importance. Is a big deal. Sebastian laughs bitterly at that. Important, right. 2 days ago we were important. Now we're just grateful to be alive. Maybe that's the same thing, Gonzalo suggests. Maybe we've been confusing importance with survival all along. We thought our wealth and power made us matter, but really we only matter because we're alive. Everything else is just decoration. The boat's engine rumbles to life, and they begin to move away from the island. Miranda stands on deck, watching it recede into the distance. Ferdinand joins her, wrapping an arm around her shoulders. Are you sad to leave? He asks gently. Yes, she admits, and no. It was my prison and my paradise all at once. But I'm ready for something new, something unknown. Even if it terrifies me. It terrifies me too, Ferdinand confesses. Going back, facing society, explaining where I've been, what happened. People will ask questions. They'll want the story. Then we'll tell them a story, Miranda says. Not the whole truth. They wouldn't believe the whole truth anyway. But enough. Enough to make sense of it all. Behind them, Prospero stands at the stern, watching the island disappear into the haze. He can just barely see smoke from the compound. Caliban has started his own fire, burning what remains of Prospero's old life. It feels right, clean, final. No regrets? Gonzalo asks, joining him at the rail. 1,000 regrets, Prospero admits. But not about leaving, about the years I wasted on hatred, about the man I became, about what I did to Caliban, to Miranda, to myself. But regret is just another name for learning, isn't it? You can't know better until you know better. That's very philosophical, Gonzalo observes. I had 12 years alone with books, Prospero says dryly. Philosophy was inevitable. The old man chuckles, then grows serious. What will you do when we get back? Whatever comes next, Prospero says. Be a father. Rebuild what was broken. Try to be worthy of this second chance I've been given. It doesn't sound like much, does it? But after 12 years of rage, simple humanity feels revolutionary. The island is gone now, swallowed by distance and sea. Ahead lies Nassau, and beyond that, the world complicated, messy, full of possibility and danger in equal measure. They're sailing toward it together, these shipwrecked souls, forever changed by 2 days on an enchanted island where magic was real and forgiveness proved to be the strongest power of all. Nassau Harbor appears on the horizon just as the sun begins its descent, a sprawl of white colonial buildings and palm-lined streets. Radio towers and church steeples reaching toward the sky. Civilization. After 2 days of primal survival, the sight of it seems almost unreal, like a postcard or a movie set. The patrol boat docks at the naval station, and immediately they're swarmed. Navy officers, government officials, reporters with cameras and notepads, all shouting questions at once. Flashbulbs pop like lightning. Someone thrusts a microphone toward Alonso. "Mr. Navarro, how does it feel to be alive? What happened to your yacht? Where have you been?" Alonso blinks against the lights, overwhelmed. For a moment he can't speak, can't process this sudden return to noise and chaos and demands. Then training takes over years of business meetings and press conferences, and he straightens his shoulders. "We're grateful to be alive," he says, his voice steady despite his ruined clothes and exhausted face. "Our yacht was caught in an unexpected storm. We managed to make it to a small island where we waited for rescue. The U.S. Navy's response was exemplary. That's all I have to say for now. We need rest and medical attention before any detailed statements." The reporters keep shouting, but Navy personnel form a cordon and usher them toward waiting cars. Miranda clings to Ferdinand's arm, her eyes wide with terror at the crowd, the noise, the mechanical chaos of it all. She's never seen this many people at once, never heard so many voices talking over each other. "Too much," she whispers. "It's too much. I know," Ferdinand murmurs back. "Just hold on to me. We'll get through this together." They're taken to the British Colonial Hotel, the finest in Nassau, its pink walls and manicured gardens a stark contrast to the wild island they left behind. Alonso has arranged for an entire floor to be reserved. Doctors arrive to examine them. Clean clothes materialize suits for the men. A simple cotton dress for Miranda that's the first store-bought clothing she's worn in 12 years. In his hotel room, Prospero stands before a mirror and barely recognizes himself. Someone has trimmed his hair and beard. The clean suit fits perfectly, courtesy of Alonso's expense account. He looks like a gentleman again, like the man he was before the island. But his eyes are different, older, sadder, but also somehow clearer. A knock at the door. "Come in," he calls. Antonio enters, freshly groomed and nervous. For a moment neither speaks. Then Antonio says, "I've called my lawyers. They're flying in tomorrow to begin the paperwork. The property transfers, the legal restoration of your name, all of it. I won't fight any of it." "I know," Prospero says quietly. "Do you?" Antonio moves closer. "Because I'm not sure I would, if I were you. I'm not sure I'd trust me to follow through once we're back in Louisiana, once I'm surrounded by my people and my power again. The temptation to go back on my word will be enormous. Then resist it," Prospero says simply. "Or don't. That's your choice, Antonio. I can't control you anymore, and I don't want to. I can only control myself, and I choose to trust you. Maybe that makes me a fool, but I've been many things these past 12 years, and fool is one of the less terrible options." Antonio's face works with emotion. "I was jealous of you, you know. My whole life, you were smarter, more talented, more loved. Father always preferred you. Even when you ignored the business to chase your mystical studies, people still respected you more than me. I was just the practical one, the boring one, the one who got things done, but never got the glory. So you took it," Prospero says without judgment. "I understand. I really do. We all want to matter, to be seen. And when we can't get that honestly, we take it however we can. I'm sorry," Antonio whispers, "for all of it. For everything. I'm sorry. I know, Prospero says, and I forgive you. Not because you've earned it, but because we both need it. Now go. Get some rest. Tomorrow we start rebuilding. After Antonio leaves, Miranda appears in the doorway. She's been crying, her eyes are red, her face blotchy. What's wrong? Prospero asks, immediately concerned. Everything, she says, collapsing into a chair. The noise, the crowds, the way people look at me like I'm some exotic creature. The food tastes wrong. The bed is too soft. The lights are too bright. I don't know how to be here, Father. I don't know how to be this person everyone expects me to be. Prospero kneels beside her chair, taking her hands. You don't have to be anyone but yourself. Yes, this world is overwhelming. Yes, it will take time to adjust. But you're stronger than you know, Miranda. You survived 12 years on that island. You survived me at my worst. You can survive anything. What if I can't make Ferdinand happy? She asks in a small voice. What if I'm too strange, too damaged? What if his family hates me? Then they're fools, Prospero says firmly. Miranda, you are extraordinary. Any family would be lucky to have you. And Ferdinand loves you, really loves you. I can see it. That boy would walk through fire for you. You made him love me, she says, with Ariel's magic. How do I know it's real? Prospero considers this carefully. I made him susceptible to love. I put him in your path. But magic can't create love from nothing. It can only encourage what's already possible. What grew between you two? That genuine connection that was real? That was you both choosing each other. She wants to believe him. He can see it in her eyes. What if I want to go back? She whispers. Not forever. Just sometimes to visit. To remember. Then we'll go back, Prospero promises. Together. We'll make sure Caliban is all right, that the island is preserved. It's part of our story, Miranda. We don't have to erase it. We just have to move forward from it. A tentative knock. Ferdinand enters, looking concerned. I heard crying. Is everything all right? It will be, Miranda says, wiping her eyes and standing. I'm just adjusting. Ferdinand moves to her immediately, wrapping her in his arms. We'll adjust together, he promises. You're not alone in this, Miranda. Whatever comes, we face it as a team. Watching them, Prospero feels a bittersweet ache in his chest. His daughter is leaving him, not physically, not yet, but emotionally. She's becoming part of a partnership that doesn't include him at its center. This is what he wanted, what he orchestrated. So why does it hurt? Because growth always hurts, he realizes. Change always costs something. He's gaining his daughter's happiness, but losing her childhood, her dependence, her need for him. It's the natural order of things. It's still painful. I'll leave you two alone, he says quietly, heading for the door. Father, Miranda calls after him. Thank you. For everything, for keeping me alive, for teaching me, for letting me go. He pauses at the threshold, his back to them, so they won't see the tears in his eyes. Thank you for saving me, he says, for reminding me what it means to be human. I love you, Miranda. More than magic, more than revenge, more than anything. I love you too, she says. He closes the door gently behind him and stands in the hallway, breathing deeply. Through the window at the end of the corridor, he can see Nassau spread out below streetlights, coming on as darkness falls. Cars moving through intersections, people living their ordinary, complicated lives. He's one of them now. No longer a sorcerer king, just a man. it should feel like a loss, like diminishment. Instead, somehow it feels like freedom. 3 months later, New Orleans shimmers in the late spring heat. The French Quarter smells of magnolias and river water and chicory coffee. St. Louis Cathedral rises white and elegant against a blue sky, its spires reaching toward heaven like prayers made solid. Inside, the pews are packed. Society has turned out in force for the wedding of Ferdinand Navarro and Miranda de la Quadra, mysterious island girl. The survivor, the woman with the strange and romantic story that everyone whispers about, but no one fully understands. Prospero sits in the front row, uncomfortable in his formal attire, watching his daughter princess down the aisle on Gonzalo's arm. The old man wept when Miranda asked him to give her away, understanding the honor for what it was, forgiveness and inclusion, a statement that he was family now, truly family. Miranda is radiant in ivory silk, her dark hair crowned with orange blossoms. She moves with more confidence than she had 3 months ago, though Prospero can still see the nervousness in the set of her shoulders. The cathedral is packed with hundreds of strangers, all staring at her. For someone who spent 12 years seeing only a handful of faces, this must be overwhelming. But she keeps her eyes on Ferdinand, waiting at the altar in his morning coat, and that seems to steady her. Antonio sits 3 rows back, deliberately not in the family section. True to his word, he's signed over half of everything: properties, investments, accounts. The legal documents restoring the Delacroix name were filed 6 weeks ago, and he's told the truth, or a version of it, to everyone who matters. His reputation in New Orleans society is ruined. Several business partners have dissolved their associations. The invitations have stopped coming. He looks older, grayer, but also, somehow, more at peace. Sebastian sits beside Alonso in the front row across the aisle, sober and quiet. Alonso never pressed charges, but their friendship is different now, more honest, perhaps, but scarred. Sebastian has stopped drinking, started attending church, trying to become someone worthy of the mercy he received. Some days are better than others. The ceremony begins. The Archbishop's voice echoes through the cathedral, speaking of love and commitment and the mystery of 2 becoming one. Miranda and Ferdinand exchange vows they wrote themselves simple, honest words about choosing each other every day, about facing an uncertain world together, about building something new from broken pieces. When Ferdinand lifts Miranda's veil and kisses her, the cathedral erupts in applause. Prospero finds himself crying openly, not even trying to hide it. These are not tears of sadness, but of release. 12 years of tension finally unwinding, like a spring that's been compressed too long. At the reception in the Roosevelt Hotel's grand ballroom, New Orleans society mingles beneath crystal chandeliers. A jazz band plays Duke Ellington and Louis Armstrong. Waiters circulate with champagne and canapes. It's everything Miranda never had: music and dancing, crowds of well-dressed people, the ritual celebration of life and love. She dances with Ferdinand, laughing at something he whispers in her ear. Then with Alonso, who treats her with the tenderness of a man who knows how close he came to losing everything. Then, finally, with her father. "How are you holding up?" Prospero asks as they waltz. "My feet hurt," Miranda admits. "These shoes are torture devices, and I've smiled so much my face aches. But, Father, I'm happy, really happy. Is that strange?" "Not strange at all," he assures her. "That's exactly how it should be. What about you?" she asks, studying his face. "Are you happy?" He considers the question carefully. I'm something. Not happy exactly. Maybe content? Maybe just less angry. I've rented an apartment in the Garden District. I'm teaching philosophy at Tulane. They were happy to hire a man with my unusual background. I have coffee every Thursday with Gonzalo. Antonio and I have dinner once a month, and it's awkward and painful and necessary. That sounds like healing, Miranda observes. Maybe it is, Prospero agrees. It's messy and slow, and some days I still wake up furious about the 12 years I lost. But then I remember that those years also gave me, you really gave me you, in a way I might never have known if we'd stayed in our comfortable life. Adversity makes you know people, makes you know yourself. The song ends. Ferdinand reclaims his bride for another dance. Prospero finds himself at the bar beside Antonio. Quite a party, Antonio says awkwardly. Yes, Prospero agrees. They stand in silence for a moment, two brothers who share blood and history and trauma, trying to figure out how to be in the same room without magic or hatred mediating between them. I'm moving to Atlanta, Antonio says finally. Fresh start. There's nothing for me here anymore. I'm sorry, Prospero says and means it. Don't be, Antonio replies. This is what accountability looks like. I destroyed your life, and now I'm facing consequences. That's fair. That's just. Justice and fairness aren't the same as healing, Prospero observes. You can have one without the other. Are we healed? Antonio asks. Will we ever be? Prospero considers this. I don't know, but we're trying. That has to count for something. They clink glasses not in celebration, but in acknowledgement. Of the past, of the pain, of the long, difficult road ahead. Across the room, Stefano and Trinculo hover near the buffet, uncomfortable in borrowed suits. Alonso hired them both, Stefano as a boat captain, Trinculo as a navigator. They're staying sober, staying employed, staying grateful for the second chance. When they see Prospero looking, they raise their glasses nervously. He nods back. Everyone here has been given a second chance. Everyone is trying in their own way to be better than they were. Late in the evening, Prospero steps outside onto the hotel balcony for air. The Mississippi River flows by below, brown and eternal, carrying everything downstream, silt and history and secrets. There you are, says Gonzalo, joining him. Hiding from your own daughter's reception? Just thinking, Prospero says, about islands and storms and the strange paths life takes us on. Do you miss it? Gonzalo asks. The magic? Prospero thinks about this honestly. Sometimes, when things get difficult, when I feel powerless, yes, I miss having that kind of control. But then I remember what it cost, what it made me. And I'm grateful I burned those books. You're a good man, Prospero Delacroix, Gonzalo says. I'm a man who's trying, Prospero corrects. That's all any of us can do. Try to be better today than we were yesterday. Try to choose love over hatred. Try to forgive, especially when forgiveness seems impossible. Inside, the band strikes up a waltz. Through the window, they can see Miranda and Ferdinand dancing, lost in each other, building their future with every step. She'll be all right, Gonzalo observes. Your daughter. She's stronger than you know. I know exactly how strong she is, Prospero says quietly. She survived me after all. She can survive anything. The night deepens. The party continues. And somewhere far away on a small island in the Caribbean Sea, Caliban sits on a beach watching the same stars, finally alone, finally free, finally at peace with his solitude. The storm has passed. The tempest has ended. What remains is just life complicated, messy, beautiful, ordinary life. And for all of them, for better or worse, that will have to be magic enough.